All right. Welcome to Real Estate Hustlers Podcast. I am your host, Josh Appelman, founder and CEO of Appelman Properties. On this episode, we are talking to Caleb Johnson. Caleb began his entrepreneurial journey at 18, and by the age of 25, he had amassed over $9 million of real estate. And Caleb, we appreciate you coming on the show today. You've got it sounds like a huge portfolio at age 25. Can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, Josh, thank you so much for having me. The way I got started in real estate was because of my parents, and not because they were wealthy by any means, but they were middle class and they had jobs. And so I say that it was because of my parents is because I saw the life that they had, and I knew I didn't want that for myself. I saw my dad going to work, and my mom not liking what she was doing, but having to go back day after day and just to get money because she had no other streams of income coming in. And that really got exacerbated, Josh, when I was around 18 years old and my mom had surgery and she was out of work for 3 months. She was going to live off of her savings during that time. And at the end of 3 months, she had planned to go back to work, but she wasn't healed all the way. And so she had to make this tough decision about, do I take care of myself and let myself heal more, or do I go back to work and plan on retiring when I wanted to? Because she was around 60 years old at that time. And so she made the tough decision to go back to work. And I would honestly see her come home just in tears because she was crying from pain. And that killed me. It again made me realize I didn't want that for myself. And secondly, I wanted to aid her financially, retire on time, retire early. So that was my big why for starting off. And I acquired my first property when I was 20, and I've been investing for a total of 6 years now.
That's huge. And the fact that your mother became your biggest inspiration in a sense, because you see what the future holds if you don't make changes. And in real estate, you get of course, the benefit of passive income. You get appreciation, you get your depreciation and your taxes. But you can also cash out, have a transactional event if and when that time comes, and dispose your assets, and then the journey continues. So I totally get it. So you went over how you got started. How did your first deal come about? Tell us about that.
So my first deal, I like talking about two of them because my first deal, I had one in residential and then one in commercial, and they were both pivotal times in my life. So the first deal was a house hack where I lived in one unit. I rented out the other three. And again, I bought that when I was 20 years old. And that was a great starter property for me because it required a low cost of capital, about $10,000 to $15,000. And after about 6 months, this thing was generating about $1,200 a month of cash flow in my pocket. And it taught me a lot. It taught me that I'm not a handyman. I don't do that. I can underwrite and I can talk to people, but swinging a hammer, painting, it's just not my forte, and I really don't enjoy it. So I learned that. And then with the commercial property, my first property was a 16-unit apartment in Oklahoma. And the way I found that, Josh, was I went on Crexi and LoopNet, and I knew I wanted to get in this commercial space. So my plan was to make a spreadsheet of all the brokers' contact information that was on LoopNet and Crexi. Even if it wasn't the same property that I wanted their information because I'm sure they knew an owner that might want to sell. And so that was my strategy going into that market. And I wrote down all their information and I called them up one at a time. And after a couple months of doing that, I had a conversation with this broker, and she knew a seller who tried to sell a couple years ago. It just didn't pan out. Long story short, the numbers looked great and the property was in distress. The out-of-state seller kind of, everything that it took to make a good deal. And we closed on that property probably after 60 days of going under contract.
Nice. So going back to your first, your house flip, the house flip, correct?
House hack.
House hack. Okay. And it was generating $1,200 a month. Can you tell us how was it generating $1,200 a month? Was it the other tenants put in place? Was it some other value add components?
So when I bought the property, rents were probably, let's just say $500, for example. My plan was to go in there, renovate them, and increase the rents to what market was based on the level of finishings I put into that unit. And so now let's just say rents were $800 or $900. And so I did that 2 times, and that's what helped generate that $1,200 of monthly income.
Okay, so this was a duplex, and you lived in one side, and then you had your tenant in the other side.
It was a fourplex.
A
So
fourplex. Okay,
I was living in one unit and then 3 tenants.
got it. Nice, nice. And then after debt service, after expenses, you're cash flowing, and essentially it's infinite return thereafter. Correct?
That's right.
Got it. I like it. And then 16 units. You found it distressed. You looked at the what kind of value you could put into the deal as far as renovating it, the existing rents, and then how far the rents could be pushed.
That's right.
Got that under contract. How long did it take you to close?
I think 60 to 90 days.
60 to 90 days. Did you do a bridge loan? Did you do a community bank loan? How was
Community bank. And so we got 18 months of interest only, and where the
nice.
lender would fund the CapEx, 75% of the CapEx. And so then it's fixed debt, and we closed that early 2022. So great time to secure fixed low rate debt. And so now our term on that is 5 years. So we have some flexibility there.
Nice. So are you all are renovating the units and getting the sometimes you got to get old tenants out. Sometimes they can flex with the new upgrades and keep them if they're good.
Right.
But are you implementing the business plan currently?
Yeah, we are. And it's performing very well now.
Perfect. Good deal. All right. So 16 units. And then what led you to your second deal?
The second deal that we bought, I'll talk about on the commercial side was, I think it was a 30 unit in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Josh, I did the same thing that I did in Oklahoma City that I did in New Mexico. So I went on LoopNet and Crexy, and those are free resources where all that information is right there, and property listings. And so I wrote down all their information in this market, New Mexico, and called them up. And it actually took, this one was about 6 months. And after 6 months of having contact with this broker, and we tried to do a couple offerings together, and it just nothing penciled. But then he brought this opportunity to me, and he said, "Hey, Caleb," this was, let's say, a Tuesday. He said, "I just spoke with this seller, and he has an LOI in hand from this one group, but he said if I can give him another offer by Friday, then he would consider it." And so he knew that we were aggressive in that market and already owned something just a little bit south of that market. So he called us up, and because we had that relationship, that's why he called me up. And so we underwrote that and moved very quickly to put an LOI together, and we actually got that accepted.
Nice. That's was that through a community bank, bridge loan? What kind of debt do you? And I ask what kind of debt because the listeners, I want them to pick up nuggets on how you're funding these things and what that looks like, just so that they can pick up some steam.
I'm pretty sure that's a fairly large institution. And I don't know how large their company is, but we worked with a lender, a broker lender. And so we kind of shopped some rates with a handful of different groups. And the debt we got there was actually floating. And I don't remember the exact terms, maybe like 2 points over SOFR or something like that. I might be off there, but got that, and they were willing to fund the CapEx as well.
Nice. And brokers are an excellent way to go out and get debt for properties. They'll shop it out to multiple banks, and then you've essentially have a platter of offers in front of you that matches your business plan. And no, I totally agree. I like it. So on that project, how big was your CapEx budget?
Oh gosh, that one, I think it was around $250,000.
Okay. All right. Good deal. So it's a light cosmetic rehab, and it sounds like everything was pretty much in place, and you're just going through, and was it new flooring, paint, cabinetry, hardware?
Yeah, our business plan was to renovate 15 of the 30 units and the parking lot. And besides that, a lot of it was a great looking property, 1986 vintage, I think. And So it was, yeah, pretty light cosmetic. And we actually started, once we started renovating the property, we had originally projected, let's say $7,000 in interior renovation. And once we started renovating these things to the extent that we wanted, the bill was $1,400 or $14,000 per unit. And so that kind of that's a big increase, double. So that kind of changed our business plan so that now we're only doing make ready, but the market is such there that there's such a demand that we can just invest $1,200 into the renovation, and it's really just a make ready term, maybe carpet, maybe flooring here and there, a little bit of paint, and we're still able to get what our original projections were.
Got it. Nice. And I think that's one thing that future operators can get stuck on is looking at the shiny object. We do granite countertops on all of our units, more of a strategy. We procure the labor and material, of course, at a different cost than what would be out there on the market, but we don't ever need to replace the countertop again. It's the laminate countertops can they'll bubble after time, or they'll burn marks from the tenants, whether they're putting hot pans down or whatever. But that we've seen that is in itself can push rents just by resident. I'm not going to say satisfaction, but it's a shiny object in the unit, so it helps lease it up. Plus, it offsets any future capex needed on the countertops. Wrap that up with fresh coat of paint, and paint all the wood trim white, make it look up to date. It works. But how are you managing your general contractors? Is that through third-party property management, or are you all procuring labor on your own?
So it depends on the market. That's something I've learned over time is like in Oklahoma City, our property management company, they have in-house contractors. And so they manage all of it. Now in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where we own 2 assets, I'm really managing the GC. And so it's really just, hey, this is what we want. And now we know once you get that initial bid and tell them what you want as a template in these units, then they can go out and say, okay, Caleb wants this and this and this. And this is usually what the price is going to spit out at, is because we already got that initial bid. And he'll say, this is going to take 2 to 3 weeks. It's like, okay, every week I might touch base, see where that unit's going. And then we'll pay him. We have a relationship with him there in Cruces. So we'll pay him at the end once the unit is complete. So there's no like 50-50 up front or anything like that. And then in Albuquerque, New Mexico, our property management company manages them.
Got it. Okay. So is your property management company buying all the material up front and then scheduling, or is it up to the contractor?
That's a contractor.
Okay. Got it. Good deal. Cool. And then asset management, what are your techniques and approach towards managing and pushing, making sure that the property manager is doing what you all want them to do performance wise?
Yeah, that can be tricky sometimes, and I've learned it's really, really important. Sometimes you have to manage the property management company, and we have weekly calls with our PMs on all of our assets. And I have a list of questions that I'm happy to provide so that you can put them in the show notes. But it starts with delinquency, occupancy, what interior renovations are going on right now, people that are moving in this week, people that are moving out, renewals, what renewals are going on there, where the marketing is. So every week we track KPIs, key performance indicators, on the traffic that we're receiving at the property, right? How many leads we get, how many applications we receive, how many showings, how many of those showings actually showed up, how many tours, and then how many leases were signed from those. And that helps us kind of see if we tweak something in our marketing strategy or renovate something at the property, like an exterior finish, and then we see an uptick in the marketing and the traffic, then that tells us we're doing something right. Or it can also tell us we're doing something wrong. So those are just a couple things that we track.
Nice. Yeah, Neil Bawoff, he's got on his multifamily he's got an excellent template for tracking those KPIs on the inflow and the outflow leads. It is all about numbers, and if somebody knows that they're being overlooked with numbers and how those measure their performance, then by nature we all want to do better if we know our own numbers. Just establishing that metric.
Yeah, and we actually use Neil Bawa's it's called Lassell, I think, for the traffic count.
Yeah. Perfect. No, it's and it's an excellent template. It's we've expanded off of it because it's huge for foundational, and putting in a few other things that we feel like are important just vertical off of, but it's huge. It gets you started. Where do you see the markets going? So we've got a lot of turmoil. We've got the ups, the downs. It'll give you whiplash. Where do you see the market going right now?
Well, where we see the market going, this is May of 2023, and this whole beginning half of the year has been pretty silent. We've seen a 75% decline in transaction volume compared to 2022. So, but I think there is some opportunity on the horizon. And so the reason I say that is because we saw a lot of people get into bridge financing and kind of they gave themselves projections, lofty projections, let's say. And so they thought they were going to be able to refinance at a certain rate and get this bridge financing, which they could get at a great interest rate, let's say 3%, and they're going to hold that term for 2 years. And so they thought they could refinance and still have a low interest rate. But the market is such where things have slowed down, interest rates are higher. And so instead of a cash out refinance, it's going to be a cash in refinance. And they're either going to have to do a capital call and require their investors to inject more capital, or they're going to be forced to sell the property and the bank's going to take it. And so that's why, and a lot of the people that I'm talking to, like Rod Khleif, David Lindahl, they're all seeing the same thing. And so we're really looking forward to Q4 of 2023 and then 2024 to see a lot of these offerings coming available.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're seeing the same thing. I think it's a wait and hold. We're still underwriting. We've got a pipeline of deal inflow consistently every single day. We do still see sellers' expectations still within a 5 to even low. Well, not even low 6 cap, but 5 range. And you go into negative leverage if you're wanting to purchase on anything sub the interest rate that you're buying into. But the seller expectation needs to still match what the market is dictating, which makes it tough. But we see opportunity on the third, fourth quarter, more of next year. But in the interim, if a deal pencils, if it makes sense, we're definitely able and ready to get it going. So it's still exciting times. There's another question getting all the way back to the beginning of your journey. So you got in with no money and no resources. That's important for the listeners to hear, because when we start our investing journey, we're always trying to connect the dots. What X equals 0? How did you get in with no money and no resources?
I think it starts with you have to know what you want, and also when you're starting off, what you can do, right? And so I knew I was a personable guy and I could have these conversations and network well. So I knew I needed a mentor, and I found a mentor. And the story is kind of funny about how we worked together. Is he told me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad 6 times, and then Cash Flow Quadrant 6 times. And then I think we did that with a YouTube video too. So he wanted to vet me before investing time into me. And I was willing to work for him for free. And I think that's also really important starting off, is that you see the value in this real estate game, right? You see there's millions to be made here if you do it right. And you have to be willing to give something up, especially early on, and add value to others. So that's how I got started. And I found the strategy that worked well for me and my goals at the time. At the time, I was 19, 20 years old, and I had been saving money. So I had maybe $15,000, $20,000 in the bank, and I could buy a fourplex. I found out, listening to free resources too, like Bigger Pockets and YouTube videos. And I was able to get down, put a low down payment into a property, and it would generate income. And so for me, I think doing that was perfect for kind of my situation. And I think that's where the listeners should start, is with their goal, and then what can get them that goal with the circumstances they have.
Yeah. Like an FHA, 3.5% down on a fourplex will get you in, or even a VA loan, get in for free, 3 of the units cash flow, and you just became in the real estate game.
Mm-hmm.
If I could go back in time, I'd put my family into an 8 unit if I could, and start there. It's but you don't. It's never too late, and you got to, once you start your journey, you start your journey. But it's like hindsight. If I knew then what I knew now, it would be a totally different game. But
Right.
the game is getting into it, and then start compounding from there. The more you buy, the more you're worth. The more you're worth, the more you can buy. It's one equals another, and that's the beauty of real estate. The lenders want to see what your personal financial statement looks like. So if you've got real estate on there, then you can buy more, and it goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And like you said, the more you do, the more experience you gain, the more you can add value down the road. And one thing I love about being an entrepreneur and in this real estate is that you can be flexible. And right, if you have a day job and you do it this certain way, the manager or the owner might not want to deviate from the route that they've always taken. So even if you see a better way that can generate more money, they wouldn't want to do it. But now that you own your own business, and let's say you're 25 years old, you're still single, no kids, no wife, you can still, or no husband, you can still move into a fourplex, and just you can be very strategic and just make it happen. And so it's just really about being creative.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. So is real estate your full-time job, managing over the assets? Do you have something else going? What does that look like?
Yeah, no, this is my full-time job, and I was blessed to leave my day job in 2022 summer.
Nice, perfect. And that's and it'll just keep on growing. So what are the future goals that you have for real estate? What do those look like?
Mm-hmm. Well, I forgot to mention I do have a podcast, and so
Nice.
I love doing that and having conversations with these influencers and these people that have amazing and incredible stories. And so I see that growing in the future, and also expanding in real estate. I've looked into the stock market, and I think that's a great asset class. At the same time, you just need to learn it. It just requires some time to learn it. And so that's another 6 to 12 months that you might want to invest in learning swing trading or whatever that may be. So again, being an entrepreneur can give us the flexibility to look at different avenues. And so that's kind of on the business front. But for me in the future, it's really more about what makes me full, what makes me happy. And money's one thing that I need, but it doesn't make me happy. What makes me happy is investing time into others, and especially at church, and volunteering with the youth, and just seeing them grow and investing into relationships, because that's the only thing we can take with us is the relationships that we have. And so I want to be sure I'm doing that as well.
Nice. Yeah. Relationships are everything in real estate. That is fact. It's you get pocket deals, you can help others, you can others can help rise you up. It's others that have been there and done it, and have the wisdom to help carry on. It's relationships are everything.
Mhm.
Caleb, we truly appreciate you coming on today. If somebody wants to reach out to you and learn more about yourself, how can they get a hold of you?
They can find us at our podcast, which is From Trial to Triumph, or they can visit our website at redseacapitalgroup.com.
Nice. Awesome. I look forward to seeing your journey, and we will definitely talk soon.
Okay. Thanks.